On this week's episode of the Rambler Sports Locker, the Ramblers ended their season at the Final Four, and Porter Moser's career opportunities got more interesting.
Also, the men's volleyball team dropped back 2 spots in the AVCA poll, and Alfredo Rodriguez tells us about the number 3 in this week's By the Numbers.
Welcome back to the first studio episode of the Rambler Sports Locker in over a month. I'm Henry Redmond.
And I'm Hayley Spitler. The men's basketball team went deep into the big dance, shocking the country by making it to the Final Four. Henry and I were able to cover all of the Loyola's games in March Madness.
The Loyola men's basketball team amazed the nation with its run to the Final Four.
Loyola's Final Four run brought more than just fame to the men's basketball team, it also brought publicity to the university. The bookstore has seen an increase in fans wanting to buy school apparel. RSL reporter Nick Schultz has more.
It's been a while since we were here in the studio, so we thought we'd catch you up on everything that happened in Loyola athletics while we were distracted by basketball. The men's golf team played 2 tournaments, finishing in 6th and 7th place. Freshman Devin Johnson led the way for the Ramblers in both.
The track and field team started their outdoor season with 4 meets in March. The men's volleyball team spent March ranked 6th in the country and went 7-2.
The women's basketball team lost in the first round of the MVC tournament to Valparaiso. The Ramblers finished their season with a 7-23 record, winning 5 more games than the previous season. The Ramblers return 9 players next year and will bring in 3 new recruits in Kate Ochter's 3rd season with the team. The women's golf team opened its season with a 7th place finish at the Saluki Invitational. Junior Elena Bowser led the way for the Ramblers, finishing 6th overall.
And the softball team went 12-9 in March and opened its MVC season 3-5. And that is what you missed in March. Last Thursday, March 29th, the men's volleyball team traveled to Columbus, Ohio to take on Ohio State. Back in February, the Ramblers defeated the Buckeyes in a tough 5-set match. However, this time Ohio State walked away victorious, defeating Loyola 3-1. The Buckeyes quickly gained the 2-set lead after beating the Ramblers 25-20 in the first set and 25-16 in the second. The third set was a different story, and after a lot of back and forth, Loyola was able to force the 4th set with a 41-39 victory. Ohio State won the 4th set and the match with a score of 25-19. 2 days later, Loyola headed to Lebanon, Illinois to compete against McKendree University in a match that once again saw 4 sets. This time it was Loyola that walked away with the win. Loyola won the first 2 sets with scores of 32-30 and 25-21, but dropped the 3rd set to McKendree 26-24. The Ramblers sealed the win in the 4th set with a score of 25-11. The match saw senior Jeff Jendrick hit 12 kills and freshman Garrett Zolg have 43 assists. The loss to Ohio State cost Loyola their number 6 ranking in the American Volleyball Coaches Association poll, which they had held for 5 weeks. They are now ranked number 8 and will close out their regular season this Saturday, April 7th, with a match against Quincy. Loyola will be playing for a chance to clinch at least a share of the MIVA volleyball title.
The men's volleyball team won its last match 3-1. Alfredo Rodriguez looks into the number 3 in this week's By the Numbers.
Last weekend, Loyola's softball team hosted Evansville in a 3-game series. The Ramblers and the Purple Aces split a doubleheader on March 30th. The Ramblers lost the first game to the Purple Aces 4-3. Evansville had a total of 7 hits in the game, whereas Loyola only had 2. In the second game of the day, the Ramblers managed to shut out the Purple Aces. Home runs from junior catcher Katie Kasupke and sophomore outfielder Shannon McGee gave Loyola the 2-run win. Pitcher Kylie Jones threw a complete game and only allowed 2 hits. On Saturday, March 31st, the Ramblers closed out the series with another loss to the Purple Aces. Evansville grabbed the lead in the first inning and never looked back. They scored a total of 5 runs in the 3rd inning alone and won the game 7-1. Loyola's games scheduled at DePaul and UIC earlier this week were canceled due to Chicago's rainy weather. Loyola will next host Illinois State this weekend, starting with a doubleheader on Saturday, April 7th at Loyola Softball Park. Women's golf was supposed to compete in the Bradley Spring Invitational last weekend on March 30th and 31st. However, weather forced the event to be canceled. The team will now next compete at the Indiana State Spring Invitational this Sunday and Monday, April 8th and 9th. And the men's team will next compete at the Tiger Invitational in Columbia, Missouri next Monday and Tuesday, April 9th and 10th, before heading to the Missouri Valley Conference Championship.
The Ramblers' run to the Final Four has made Porter Moser one of the hottest names in college basketball.
Ramble host Blaze Radosevich and his Ramble analyst discuss Moser's future at Loyola in this week's Ramble.
Thanks, Blaze. I gotta agree with Claire. I just don't think there's a high major job open for Moser to take this year.
And I definitely don't want to see him leave Loyola. For our full episodes and the chance to get in on the conversation, follow and like our social media handles for an up-to-date look at all things Rambler Sports.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Henry Redmond.
And I'm Hayley Spitler. Check back next week for another episode of the Rambler Sports Locker.
And as always, don't forget to turn out the lights.